William Wages, ASC, and I came to Poland from Atlanta, Georgia, where I live. It's my first time here and I'm having a wonderful time. This is a great festival. I'm here to show a few minutes of The Forgiven, a movie I did with Roland Joffe in South Africa, which is about apartheid, about Desmond Tutu. And we had Forrest Whitaker play Desmond Tutu and Eric Bana play his Afrikaans nemesis. Very dramatic movie, very emotional movie. We shot in real prisons with real prisoners and all, something that they'd never allowed before. Because the real Desmond Tutu wrote a letter and asked them to let us do it. So it was quite a life experience to go there and do this. And I can say without a doubt, without the VariCam, it wouldn't be the movie that it is today. Actually, Roland leaves that completely to me. We had done another project with the VariCam, the LT, in Memphis, Tennessee, about the beginning of rock and roll in Sun Records. And he loved it. He just saw what I was doing with it, what it allowed me to do, and the freedom that it gave both of us. So we were able to focus more on making the movie and less on the technology. And that's the advantages of the camera with the, I think, 16 stops of latitude and the dual ISO, the 5000, I use all the time. If we're not in the sunshine, we're shooting in 5000, which means I'm not necessarily exposing at 5000 because I use the ND filters, but I love the way the camera looks in 5000. It looks like film to me. Well, what I like about the 5000, there are a couple of phenomena that I'd never thought about before this ability or capability with the camera, which is I can have the A camera shooting with a 25mm lens wide open to get a soft background. If I light to that in the traditional sense, then the B camera, which probably has a 150mm lens on it, will be shooting wide open too, and the background is mush. With this camera, I can have the N9 filter in on the A camera, dial it out on the B camera, so they're shooting at a 4 or something. That way we get both eyes in focus, and the circles of confusion are very similar to the wider lens, so it becomes seamless in a way. This is a phenomenon I never noticed before, and it's quite handy. Also, a lot of times when you go on a location scout, there are areas that are so dark, you go, this is going to require a lot of lighting. With this camera, that's never the case. I mean, I've shot on the streets at night in Memphis, all over, every time I've used the camera, and it's more about having lights turned off than us adding lights, which is not that expensive to do. The power company comes and turns off the lights, you tell them. And we do that quite a bit, so it speeds up our production time. The main thing about this camera, sometimes people say, well, you must be a producer's best friend, and I go, no, that has nothing to do with it. It allows us to focus entirely on telling the story and not on the logistics and technology. It puts us one layer closer to what we're there to do. And it takes my mind off of all the logistics. I don't have to worry about any of that. So that's a real gift. We are the first show to ever use the LT. They were new from the factory. We started the show with the demo models in the States. We had all of them, 4 of them, because it was a new camera and I was a little nervous. And then when the cameras came from Japan, we had 4 cameras that the rental house bought, but they were the first ones delivered to the States. And after a week or so of using them, I called the owner of the rental house and I said, do you mind if we return one of them? Because we really don't need 4. It's bulletproof, it works. And we had the 4th just because it was new. And he said, no, I would love for it to come back because he already had rentals for it. So the way we configured it is one camera was in traditional mode that would go on ahead, the other camera was on the Steadicam, and the third camera was on the Ronin. We never had to reconfigure anything. Although I will say, the A camera that was on the Steadicam we could take right off and put on ahead. So in effect, the third camera was a backup, kind of, in case somebody dropped it or something, But yeah, it's bulletproof. So when it came time to go to South Africa, there were no cameras there. And Nila in Germany made that happen for us. And I have to tell you, the guys were nervous because the cameras got stuck in customs in South Africa. They didn't get the camera until Friday morning before we started shooting on Monday. They were terrified. They had prepared for the rental house to be open over the weekend. By lunch on Friday, all the cameras were in the truck and were ready to go. So from 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock, they learned the camera, they were comfortable with it, and we went home on the weekend. We didn't have to go to the rental house. That's how simple it is. Well, we talked about that in South Africa because that's a feature. And in the testing we did and looking at the movie screens, it's like, it's fine. This camera has so much latitude. That's what people don't talk about. They always talk about the dual ISO, which is significant, but the latitude is phenomenal. I don't carry big lights anymore. I don't carry 18Ks. I carry 1.8Ks. That's the biggest light I have in my inventory. My package went from being in a gigantic truck to now it's in a little bitty truck that drives right up to the set. Really speeds things up. And again, it's not about saving time for any other reason than to have more time to make the movie. It's like I use the Fujinon 19-90 because I'm not changing lenses. And what that does at the end of the day is probably give us another hour to shoot. Same thing with not having to rig such gigantic lights to get exposure. I can always get exposure with this camera, and it saves me so much time to focus on making the movie. It allows maybe 5 more shots a day. The little shots that you always want to do, but you don't have time to do, so you have to prioritize. Well, now we can do all of them. So, I mean, I literally used to take light meters on Scouts and cameras and stuff, and now I just go and look at it and go, yeah, that's fine. We can shoot there. No problem.